Good morning, everybody. We are excited. We are excited. And we are in for a wonderful, wonderful treat on this morning. Get up, tell your folks they need to be on the Revive the Live, I Speak Life this morning. Something great is going to happen. We are excited to be here on this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. And we are elated. Not sure why it looks that way. I feel like I'm going in and out. We are elated and we are happy to be here, and it is beautiful. We're letting folks come on in. We see you guys coming in, and it is wonderful to be in our Zoom room. We see you also in our Facebook. We are just happy that you are all here. We're glad about all of it. And so, man, thank you guys. You guys are jumping on. It is happening. Oh, yes, our guest is here. It's about to rock and roll. Okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. Technical advisor, I love you dearly. Okay, it looked like I am. All right, no worries. Since I'm not, I am going to make it be what it needs to be, and let's do the thing that we need to do. So listen, my name is Dr. Lakita. We got a charge August 22nd, 2022 from the Lord to revive the mind of the people of God everywhere. So we're doing our due diligence, and he said do a 30-day campaign, Revive the Mind, I Speak Life. And we are excited that we are getting a chance to do that thing. And you know what? It's been astounding. People all over have been replaying it. People from my Crenshaw Christian Center family, woohoo! Pastor Fred Price Jr., thank you guys so much. Great shout out to all of you guys. And to those of you who are members of that church, I love you. Dr. Betty Price is a mentor of mine, and her foundation sponsors every month IYCC, which is Inspiring You Counseling Center, allowing us to continue the mental health front for mental health in the church. And we are excited. As a matter of fact, yesterday we just picked who is going to be receiving some monies towards their 4 brief counseling sessions, a young lady. So we're excited about that. Woohoo! And she needs it, and we are glad to be able to provide it. So if you don't know what we are about, you can look us up if you want to, MHICnow.org, or you can go to my website, lakitalong.org. I'm on all social media platforms, IG, Facebook, YouTube. Find us so you can be in the know. What's up? Because we are about to bring it in a whole different kind of way. I'm a marketplace evangelist, just trying to make biblical principles a household name. I do that by using every skill, talent, and ability that God has given me. I absolutely love mental health. I'm a mental health enthusiast, licensed, ordained minister of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And yes, we bring that word to you hot right off the tracks, so that you can live your best life. So today I am feeling very useful, as we have a wonderful, wonderful Gen Z, Chandler Evans. He is phenomenal. I call him VIP concierge. He is the go-to person. He will help you make it happen for a little fee, but he will help you make it happen. He has gotten me through so many of my mental health conferences, pulling things together, creating the branding identity of it, and just making it do what it do. Always in the backdrop, but always in the forefront. And today we're going to hear a little bit about his story of how he speaks life. So sit back and enjoy.
Hello, and thank you, Dr. Long, for this opportunity. Take a look at this video, and I'll be back.
Yeah, the most important lessons I've learned weren't in a classroom setting. They were learned through experiences that I never thought I would have to encounter. These lessons were learned and exclusively learned because of the color of my skin. These lessons not only challenged me educationally, but also challenged my morals and my standards as a human being. I have learned to work hard. I've learned to work hard not because I need to, but because I have to. I've learned to work hard because if I don't, I would walk to the expectations that many teachers have of their Black students. I would walk to the category of students who weren't given a chance, the category of students who were doubted from the moment they walked into their classrooms, the category of students who are at an educational disadvantage just because of the color of their skin, the category of students who are not expected to graduate just because the statistics said so. I've learned that every day I walk into this campus, I am reminded that if no one will advocate for me, I have to advocate for myself, as well as other Black students on this campus. I've learned that I cannot voice an opinion without looking and sounding crazy. I've learned that if you are not white, you have to ask to be seen and beg to be heard.
Heavy, right? Thank you, May. So here we are, March 2020, right before the pandemic. It was the ending of an era for me, as it was my senior year. No prom, no graduation. Everything had got shut down. But yet and still, I had to speak life. Not only over myself, but over the generations to come. Because when they returned, they still had challenges to face. But we stand confident in knowing that Romans 8:28 says, and we know that all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord. So if you are that leader that stepped out on faith, the leader in me celebrates the leader in you, because it's not an easy task. But as long as we speak life, all things will work together. Be encouraged. Peace.
Listen, people, oh my God. And I'm only super duper excited because I was there. I was there. So listen, without further ado, we're bringing him on. He's my nephew, Chandler Evans. And man, we are just elated. Welcome to Revive the Mind, I Speak Life platform. It brings chills to me because I was front and center, me and your mother acting like we was Angela Davis' little sisters. Without the afros. And so let's just jump right into it. If folks trying to figure out what was going on, what was happening, this and the other, what you saw, and that was just a small microcosm. This young man arranged for a student full-fledged school walkout. And he was so serious. Got the administration involved, Dr. Francis Lamont Francis, blessings to you. He is a real Joe, what was that guy's name in that movie? He's a real somebody, he's a real Joe.
Real deal.
I can't remember his name, but it's all good. And so you did it. You created this whole movement that you're not going to ramrod African-American students at this Caucasian school in this Caucasian-like area. And so we're gonna jump into some real justice type of stuff. So first of all, good morning to you. And I know mornings is really a stretch, so happy.
Listen, it's such an honor to be
But
with
you did it after working 14 hours. These young people got jobs, y'all got jobs. All right, let's jump into it. Give us a backdrop. What had happened?
So let's just say that the energy and space was created to think that our culture was not good enough to be on campus. We had nooses being hung up on campus. We had teachers that were calling us out of our names, such as the N-word. I know if you looked closely, you saw some of the posters that said people want to be us, but they don't want to use our struggles. And the truth of the matter is we struggled while being in high school. I struggled while being in high school as an African-American student. We were only 10% of the ethnicity group at my high school. So how do we deal with something like that? How do we speak life, even though we may look big in number, but we're small in what we have access to? How do we deal with that, y'all?
So listen, because I remember very succinctly, because I saw it on the news and it was on Instagram and so forth, that upon approaching your school that you had attended high school, there was a black doll with a noose around his neck hanging on the fence.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that true?
That is very true.
Okay, so, and I remember when you told me, oh my God, you saw the traumatization that took place. We're talking about speaking life, but can't speak life when you've got figures and figurines of death in your face, right? So when you saw a black noose on your campus and clearly really speaking to what had been going on. What was your thought process?
Well, what was my thought process? The simple thing was, are we safe on campus? We have campus security, we have administration, we have teachers, but because we were treated as if we were animals in a zoo, that's how it came across, because nothing was really handled when it came to having a noose hung up in the front of the school, very visible, not only for the African American students, but for the Latinos, for all these other ethnicity groups that get looked over. So what a statue that we had to, deal with, and not only go to class and look around to see, because we didn't know who it was. So are we safe? Are other generations safe that come on campus after us? So it was that question of who's there to protect us? Or are we here to protect ourselves?
And when you realized who was going to be protecting you, what came to your mind and what got you so stirred up that you just was like, you know what? I'm doing something. What made you just go to that space? Because see, what I see you doing is you had to speak life over your own self regarding the things that you were fearing and or traumatized by. But you now are having to be a little like Moses Ed and speak life for hundreds. So, because there was hundreds of students in that quad, they was fearing your little black behind. They was fearing you. They was like, call the superintendent, they did. They was like, call the SRO officer, not knowing that you have a great relationship with that police officer. So that wasn't going to really work. So, right. So when you realize that, what propelled you that now I have to speak life for the ones who have no voice? Talk about that.
And that's very deep, Dr. Long. You said in my notes, the voice. It's key that we must have a voice in moments like this. I was getting ready, like I said in the video, to end my high school year. So everything that I had done leading up to now was not for me, but it was for the generations to come. And so as leaders, we must think next, is what I say. And so how do we think next in moments like this? How do we speak life? Well, it was Dr. Lamont Francis who gave us the charge to use our voice. And so when you have the charge to use your voice, you have many other young people that have been silent for so long, but when they opened up their mouth, they realized, and we realized, that we weren't the only ones struggling and going through something, whether it was a learning gap, whether it was depression, whether it was dealing with racism in the classroom. We were all dealing with something. So that's when we used our voice and had to make a change.
So you were all dealing with something, had to use your voice, make a change, which is really the whole crux of Gen Z. You're not a coddly type of generation. You are the generation that is collaboratively connected to one another, desire deep relationships, meaningful relationships. You absolutely thrive off of diversity and the diverse feeling that you matter. Okay, this is the research that Dr. Hahn and her group at Stanford has been researching for Gen Zs. And you have a keen awareness to what should be happening next. Although you don't always have all the tools. So when you don't have the tools and you don't get the backing, most Gen Zs are just going to go out and do it. And then they're going to look very rebellious to everyone else. But other people were dragging their feet, right? So, and you guys are going to find a way. You're going to Uber your way there, lift your way there. You're going to crowdfund your way there.
Absolutely.
You go, do something, whatever way. So talk to me for a second, and the rest of the world that's watching. Here you are, you come from a line of pastors. All right, let's get on to that Christian side of your life. Right. Line of pastors, grandfather, great, just wonderful, both grandfathers, preachers of the good gospel of Jesus Christ. And I was fortunate to have met your grandfather on both sides, which is phenomenal to me. He was a great pastor, Pastor Evans of Mingleton Temple Church of God in Christ. Just a beautiful, was able to meet, I love Mom Evans. She's still rocking and rolling, my birthday girl, absolutely. And then we have your dad in Los Angeles, and and God rest your soul, your grandmother, Lady Marie Evans, who's gone on to be with the Lord. So you've got a rich heritage, and you are involved in the church affiliation that you are part of. You're now a member at Glad Tidings Talk to us about the foundation of what church has meant for you. Phenomenal mom and dad, dynamic preachers of the gospel. She is my theologian, for real. Dr. Angela Hall Stovall, shout out to you on this morning. The greatest teacher, preacher, sister should, I'm not kidding about it, brings the soundness to it. And Lord have mercy. What has your Christ-like foundation given you to help you be all for one and one for all?
Well, that's a great question. Listen, church tells you and teaches you how to talk in moments like this.
In what way? Come on, what way? Come on, teacher.
My mom preached a message, Code Blue, the silent killer of the church is what she said. And we understand that Code Blue means that you flatline in medical terms, right? And so we were in a cold blue moment, right? We applied that message to what we were dealing with in school when we had flatlined and we were lifeless. And there was something that needed to shock us in the spirit to bring that life back to a dead place. So that's how we apply, our spiritual and biblical principles to natural situations.
And so you've been a part of stuff bringing the spiritual into natural life stuff for a long time. You helped me to start the Youth Talk Out, in which we had suicide prevention and depression prevention from 10-year-olds to 18-year-olds, and we rocked it out. And we had a whole little session where we had parents on one side who couldn't say a word. I remember we had about 40 parents, 40 students from all over the place. They was driving from Alameda. I didn't even know some of these people driving from Alameda. And we had the kids on one side. And I remember you went and gathered up friends. You were just always that way. And not even knowing, when we got in the building, the parents couldn't say anything. And we came up with this concept that parents, you had to sit and just listen. These were kids from 10 to 18. Some of them were maybe about 20. And to hear, and these are Christian folks, to hear your kids say just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, we wanted to commit suicide. And the parents were sitting on the other side like, what? And tears coming down their face, but they trusted our process, right? They trusted that we were going to bring out the information and then allow God to do the healing. And he did just that. We didn't lose not a one of those students. But in that moment, I remember some things that you brought to the forefront. One of your biggest attributes, I think, that you have to this generation is that you desire, and we're still doing the Youth Talk Out. We just need more funding. But and he worked, as well as we had him and 3 other young people on payroll, W-2 payroll folks. Right. And so we want to bring those W-2 payroll folks back in Jesus' name, which is why we're making IYCC its own 501(c)(3). Anywho, what's the push for you to bring in young people where they need to be hearing messages that cause them to live? What's the push for you? Have you ever been in a dire situation mentally?
Listen, Dr. Long, the push was, listen, you already know, the push was, I know how it felt to suffer in silence.
Hold on. Because we're going to put this on TikTok. The suffering in silence, and we're screaming out loud, and we're shouting and clapping our hands, rolling on the floor, getting a prophecy that never comes true. My God, people of God, suffering in silence. What does suffering in silence look like for your generation? What does it look like?
Suffering in silence looks like we have not always, as Generation Z and millennials, had the outlet and the space to really say what we were dealing with. It's whether it was addiction, whether it was having those suicidal thoughts, whether it was drug abuse, whether you were getting ready to have an abortion. These are the things that our generation has dealt with. And so because we've not had that outlet and space, we've, like I said, had to suffer in silence and deal with those things by ourselves. And so therefore, because we've been suffering, we've been killing ourselves on the inside because we've not had that time and that outlet to really say what's really going on. And if we did say, the people have not either been receptive or they don't know the proper way to help you with those times of suffering.
So do you think that we have applied the wrong methodology to trying to help this generation be their very best self?
I believe in, let's go back to church. Protocol has taught us how to do some self-doctrine, but it's
Mm.
never been the thing that we've been equipped um, resourcefully and educationally to do what we needed to do. And the resources are out there for us to have and be equipped to help this generation in these times.
So tell us, so we're talking about I Speak Life, we're talking about Revive the Mind, and this whole push is about getting a revival spirit in us to be revived mentally, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically, because there is a deadening that has happened and is happening in the church of the living God. When you can see you got churches being robbed at the same time, someone just showed me a clip of that same pastor choking out a woman like on the air. Like I just was like, what in the world? What in the heavens? And yet we need to speak to it without giving credence to it, because we are just doing a whole lot in the name of something. And so for the clarity's sake, and those of us, because you'll be traveling with me to the HBCUs, along with my little list is growing. I told the young people, everybody can't go with us, right? Kiara is going to travel, as well as I'm going to actually bring my son and my daughter too. So I think those are excusable days of being out of school when we have to travel on those days. It's just time to create a different revolution of something else on the campus. Not only do you speak life, I dance for life, because JJ, he know how to really get with it. I mean, he is the dancer. I'm telling you. Watch it, Usher. Watch it, Chris Brown. Listen, JW is in the house. But tell us a little bit more, though, about this piece that we are not helping your generation to become its best self. Because see, I've heard, and they just think they know it all. They won't even listen to us. Talk to us about what that is about on you guys' end, and why speaking life to you guys is so important.
Well, let's ask a question. Have you ever even thought to look into what your child or young person is dealing with? The question is, are you equipped, like I said, enough to handle because these things, they're big. They may not be big in your world, because the truth of the matter is you suffered in silence too. You may never want to admit it, but you suffered in silence as well. So how do you speak life? You got to be honest with yourself and be like, hey, I was that one, son, daughter. I was that one that suffered in silence too. But let's go get some help. Especially in the African-American community, it's not a common thing to go to a therapist. Listen, I probably need to go too. The truth of the matter is, it's a good thing because you have that outlet and resource. But as parents, I don't think a lot of times rather, they can clearly hear what we're saying, is because they're still dealing with some of the hurt and trauma from their childhood and what they went through, even coming up as adults.
So let me ask you, what was the lowest time in your life? You're a young man, but what was the lowest time in your life? And you just realized, like, for real, I got to speak life. What was that moment?
What was the lowest time in my life? I would have to say when my grandmother passed.
Yeah, because she passed on your birthday.
She passed on my birthday. Oh. And so me and my grandmother, the late Lady Marie Hall, God rest her soul, we were like this. I talked to her every day as I was walking to and from school. She was just that honest, keeping 100 grandmother. And so to lose that was the ending, another ending of an era, another ending of a chapter for me. And as it, the reminder, comes on my birthday, like, wow, how do we lose somebody that has been faithful? That's the real question. A lot of our generation asks God, why? Even though we understand that he does everything well, we have that why aspect of, why did you take this person and they served you and they loved you, and they've done well by you, when you have other people in these streets killing and doing crazy stuff. So that had to be the lowest point in my life, readjusting to that new norm and dealing with grief.
So readjusting to the new norm, which is something I love that you stated, because you were 15 when she passed. So that's a pivotal moment. You're a young man, you got all kinds of things that's going on. You're moving into, and she was a part of everything that you put your hands to. She was supporting anything that you were doing. She was supporting. So I always had her and Dad Hall's support, who is just still rocking and rolling, and we bless God for him. He's just a champion of a man in all senses of the word. Both himself and Lady Marie had cancer pretty much at the same time, and a daughter also too. And I'm telling you, and just pressing through the process, it was just a harrowing time. So let me ask, we got a few more minutes and so forth, and I'm asking the people on our Facebook, do you have any questions? Because this is the time, people all over the world, you need to be asking the Gen Z, quit getting information from the celebrity Gen Zs and get some information from some grounded young people who see the world in the color that they live in, but they're willing to paint it a little bit differently. They know what their call is in this life, and we are to help to assist them to get there. So ask some questions, give me some questions to be able to ask him. I have tons of questions, but I wanna make sure that we can be fair to some of the questions that you all may have. Let me ask you this question. So you've had the death of your grandmother, you've gone through a horrific, pandemic situation where now you're stripped of doing what you love to do, which is being, awesome on that dance floor and going to your prom. I mean, just graduation, drive-by, like all that was just like, what? You worked so hard to get to a space and a place. So tell me, how do you plan to really speak life in your own life at this very time? We still got injustices going on. After the March 2020 thing happened, we had the George Floyd, we had stuff going on, the Breonnas, and it was constant, so how do you keep speaking life that you might be able to see the goodness of the Lord?
The truth of the matter is we got to be honest with ourselves. And I believe that the pandemic allowed us. And if you didn't take that time to do some self searching, listen, you missed that. And so allowing ourselves that time and space to realize that, hey, I was the one that was hurt. I was the one that was depressed. I was the one that was struggling or didn't fit in, and realizing that all is well after that. You can't dwell in a place of hurt, but you must come.
There's a question from our Facebook folks, and we're going to ask, they said, who spoke life into you during your grief? Great question.
Who spoke? Listen, it's important to have a solid family that's around you, whether that's extended family, family, friends, immediate family. It's important to have a solid family that's around you, that not only when they're going through, but they're able to uplift you in those times. Because at that moment, it was really me and my mom, dealing with that. I remember I got a birthday card that my aunt had sent me on my grandmother's behalf, and I could have just about lost it when she sent that card, because the reality has set in. But it was calling my grandfather, calling my aunts, you'll be all right. It was the simple, you'll be all right, that really kept me from going crazy, because high school, those are pivotal years. So when you don't have that outlet anymore, what do you do? So it was that solid family, and having good friends, of course, that were blowing up my phone, even when I didn't want to talk, that would be like, Chan, you'll be all right. You're going to make it.
And let me just talk for just a moment. So we're going to steal a couple of minutes, because I think this is important. One of the things that people do not know about the Gen Z is that they are very tied into friends and friendships. And like, for real, like they are ride, die, and let's make it happen, Bonnie and Clyde friendships. And you are a terrific friend, as is your mother, who's one of my best friends. You are a terrific friend. Like man, and you show up for your friends, and your friends show up. Like, we needed some young people at an event, and man, you had 20 deep. I was like, you are the MVP. I'm telling you, I needed it to show for the data and for the grant that we had gotten, and they just showed up, hey, that's long, and it was phenomenal, right? So how do you translate all of what you're talking about to your friends, and really helping them to understand that life is so powerful? You don't have to end it.
It was those youth talk out moments that I believed
we had great time.
saved a lot of those young people's lives from going
Yeah.
over edge.
Yeah.
It was that personal moment, and they were
Yeah.
like, well, what are we coming to? And I'm just like, if you would just trust me, I promise you'll be blessed.
Yeah, and it was.
And it was those moments and times where they come back to me even now, 3, 4, 5 years later,
Yeah.
and simply say thank you. And I'm like, I was right with you, asking, needing to
The
talk
same
out.
question.
Right.
And I remember pivotably, just a young lady that remember we had her up, and she was up there, and we had no idea that she literally was trying to kill herself. I mean, it just changed the whole dynamic. I went to a whole nother mode, and then of course people who do not understand how to move were trying to apply old wine things to new wine skins. I said, hey, this is not the space to rub the back, sis. I'm sorry.
It's time to go to war.
Right. This is not the rub the back. This is not, no, they don't want the rub the back. Man, they need somebody to speak to their hurt and their pain. And man, when I tell you that hurt and pain was so heavy, and then we got a little bit more deeper into her life, but the Lord brought her out of that thing. Man, we tell you that soul was not going to be jumping off no bridge and this, that, and the other. And I can feel it even in my spirit. Lord have mercy. And you're part of that legacy. That's a part of the fruit to the thing that God has called you to. And so, I'm enamored. I'm going to have to bring you back. Listen, talk to the millions of young people that are watching. If you had the minute or so to tell them why it's important to mount up and speak life, tell them in just the minute that you have available to share with them.
I need y'all to put in the comments, your temporary suffering is only coming for a lasting glory. Listen, the words penned in Romans 8:18, for the suffering of these present times are not revealed to the glory that shall be within us. So basically it tells us that suffering is only temporary. Whatever you're going through, whatever that may be, with that friend, with that relationship, that situationship, that family member, the suffering is only temporary. Be encouraged. And remember that Romans 8:28, thank you, Audrey Macklin, all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord. Be encouraged.
Listen, man, I am thoroughly encouraged. I feel like a little teeny bopper. I feel like I'm ready to rock and roll. I was excited. I was rehearsing last night. I was ready to go this morning. I was like, this is the life I'm supposed to be living every single day. And it's coming to a syndicated TV spot to you. I'm going to have my talk show, I promise you. And it's going to revolutionize the way we think across the country, politically, emotionally, educationally, spiritually. It is going to happen. And I'm telling you, because people need to hear from people that they do not normally hear from. We need to talk about topics we're not talking about, so your mind can be revived. You can speak life and change a life. I'm here to encourage each and every last one of you. I only use the platforms that God has given me so that people's lives can be massively shifted and paradigms will be changed so that we can be about God's business. You can't be about God's business if we cannot hear from God's people. And Gen Z is God's people. And as we say, let them be at the table to help you make some decisions. And so anything else that you would like to share? What's your favorite scripture?
Favorite scripture, Galatians 6:9. And it was said a couple of days ago, Kiera, listen, and for we know that all things, let us not be weary in well doing.
Yes.
For in due season, we will reap a harvest if we faint not. So stay on the wall, because you'll reap a harvest if you faint not.
And you're reaping a great harvest, my friend. I mean, I'm telling you, everywhere I go, people's like, oh, hi, I remember you. Chandler Evans introduced me. I was like, wow. I mean, I'm talking about mayors. This is no joke. I'm talking about mayors. He has connected me to people all over, bishops, people that I need to connect to. He just has a way of being able to do it. And it's been a phenomenal experience. I'm so glad, so excited. We're going to rock out this HBCU IC Life tour. I'm excited too. I don't know how we're going to get there, but the Lord's going to help us every time. We're going to be bunched up together in one hotel, but wearing our I Speak Life shirts. But the Lord's going to help us, because this is what we need to be doing and what it is all about. So
That is
love
faithful.
you guys. Thank you guys for letting us take a few extra moments, but we need to hear from our Gen Z. We are not hearing from them enough. We are not talking about real issues. There's a whole nother conversation, and it just gave me the idea and the thought of what I'm going to be doing next month. So y'all stay tuned. We get ready to blow this thing all the way up. I feel it. Thank you, Holy Ghost. Just gave me what we're doing for next month. Thank you, Lord. And we're going to bring some young folks from New York and all over the place as well, right to this platform for you and I to grow and to be our very best self. Love you guys. Have a fantastic day.
Blessings be to you,
Revive the mind and speak life.
Speak
God
life.
bless. Bye-bye.